Good evening and welcome to Gibson's Bookstore Remote. We are here for the launch week of Elissa R Sloan's new book, Hayley Aldridge is Still Here. This is our second event with Elissa. We had her before for the Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes. She is back. We are glad to have her. Elissa is joined by her friend, Laura Hankin, who is the author of Happy and You Know It and A Special Place for Women, and we will talk later about her upcoming book as well. We are so happy to have the two of you here tonight.
Thanks.
All right, so the two of you have your chat planned out. To our audience members, welcome. If you are here tonight, type in where you're signing in from, some well wishes for Elissa. Tell us what you're reading. Hayley Aldridge is Still Here is available from Gibson's Bookstore. We are happy to ship you a copy. Elissa, Laura, tell me a little bit about the throwback movies that you are dressed up as.
You want to go first, Laura?
Oh, sure. I am the before the makeover in She's All That, Lainey Boggs. My big glasses right here.
Oh, they don't even have the glass.
I popped the lenses out because I didn't want them to be too shiny.
I love this. Okay, even better.
Thank you.
And Elissa, one of our favorite Jennifer Garner movies.
I am Jenna Rink from 13 Going on 30.
Excellent. I love this. This just makes me so happy. I have authors in costume. So the two of you are here tonight. Tell me, talk to me about Hayley Aldridge is Still Here. Thank you for joining us. Take it away.
Thank you for having us. I'm so excited to be here with you.
This is so exciting. We haven't actually met in person, well, not in person, but face to face.
Right. I know. I just feel like I know you because I'm on your Instagram a lot and we message a lot.
Yeah, same.
But now everybody really here gets to witness us having our first real conversation. Exciting. How are you doing with launch week? How's it going?
All right. Yeah, it's been really awesome. I didn't get to do anything I got to do a virtual event, 2 of them, for my first book, which was The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes. But I didn't get to do anything in person until yesterday when I had an in-person launch, and people were actually able to fly in and drive in to town to see the launch, and it was really touching.
Yeah, it's different when you can hug people.
Yes.
I feel like writing is so lonely. You have this beacon at the end of the book process of then I'll get to go see everybody and meet readers and celebrate. And the pandemic, it was sad to have to do that just virtually. So
yeah,
I'm glad you got to do that this week. And for such a wonderful book too. Would you like to give us the little, quick description for anybody who is here but doesn't quite know what it's about?
Sure. So Hayley Aldridge is a child star turned it girl who gets stuck under a conservatorship. And this is her memoir where it's the start of her career in 1991 to 2007-ish, which is why we are in our 90s and 2000s getup. And then she gets stuck under a conservatorship and is trying to get out of it. And so this is how she gets out.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking as I was reading it that it really, more than anything, it reminded me of reading a memoir, but one that is probably a little bit more raw and open than most real people are in their memoirs, except for maybe Prince Harry. But
I have not read Spare yet.
I haven't either. I've just seen little snippets of it. But what prompted you to write this book? Tell me the origin story.
The origin story of the book. Well, so it kind of starts with The Unraveling of Cassidy Holmes, my first book, which I started writing in 2014. And I was really interested in celebrity culture, how the private stuff gets so public,
Yeah.
And I just really wanted to explore the highs that are so high and the lows that are really low. And I was able to do that with Cassidy a little bit, but there were things in Cassidy that I wasn't able to explore very well, such as like toxic parents or toxic workplace situations with hostile coworkers. Um, and like also something along the lines of drama that's become a legal drama instead of just, I don't know, surface level drama.
Right.
So that's where the conservatorship story came in. And I was like, this is really interesting. Like, it was at the height of Britney's huge conservatorship like ordeal, and it was in the news like every day, and people were protesting in front of the courthouse. And I just thought it was so interesting that she had been under this conservatorship for a decade, and like it was just finally coming to a head then. So
Yeah,
I wanted
it's
to explore
wild.
that.
It's wild how long it went on, and we were all just like, "Oh, this seems normal."
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like 5, 10 years, we were like, "Oh yeah, Britney can't make any of her own decisions, but she's performing in Vegas for like
Right.
thousands and thousands of people." Yeah,
Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous. And
yeah, well,
you kind of look at what happens like behind the scenes in those sort of situations.
yeah.
It's like, what are the parents doing? What are their motives? And I was really interested in that. So that's where Hayley Aldridge comes from.
Well, so how did you walk that line of like using, Britney's conservatorship as part of your inspiration, but not like having that just be the whole story and making the story your own?
Right. So I don't want to make this a Britney book. It's not a
Yeah.
Britney book. And hopefully people who read it will understand that it's not a Britney book. It's just a starlet stuck under conservatorship in the same Hollywood and world that Britney lives in. So it could happen to anyone.
And
Um,
in fact, like I actually didn't realize how many people were under conservatorships, but like Amanda Bynes just got out of one, right?
yeah.
Or is like fighting it now. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, she's
continue.
about to get out of
Sorry.
it, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and so was really interested in like I'm blanking out. Sorry, guys.
No, fine.
What was I interested in?
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean,
interested in like how starlets were treated back in those days, and decided that I really wanted to skewer it.
yes.
Like talk about it. Let's talk
There's so
about
much
it.
to skewer and talk about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, like just thinking back to the coverage in the early 2000s and the way that we had this like insatiable hunger for like the mental health struggles that these young women were going through. We were like, more, more, more. Give us all the headlines about how Britney's having a breakdown, or like Lindsay, all of these things. And the paparazzi
Hmm.
really like egged these women on and like wouldn't ever leave them alone. And we were like, this is so fun. Oh yeah, we really felt entitled to Star's private struggles, as Elizabeth is saying in the chat. I mean, do you think we've learned our lesson now, or do we still have a ways to go?
I don't think anyone's learned their lesson, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about her like Amy Winehouse. She needed our help, right?
Mhm.
She was an addict. She was having trouble, but she was just being watched all the time. And now there's a biopic happening where they're just making fun of it, basically.
Are
Like,
they making fun of it?
well, if you've seen some of the stills from it, like
Yeah.
from the filming, it just looks very over the top, embarrassing. So um, it's very distasteful in my opinion. But I mean, what do I know? Maybe it'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch it though.
It does feel like in some ways, we use different language when we talk about stars now, like, oh, their mental health struggles, but we still do feel kind of entitled to know like every single detail.
Yeah, just recently, a bunch of people called the cops on Britney because she disabled her Instagram account.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Like
the
she's
entitlement is
an
just
adult woman.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. But I feel like there's this attitude that we have that's like, well, they signed up for this, they put themselves into the spotlight. And so
Right.
they should have known what they were getting into. But like, I think the especially interesting thing is when a lot of these people started to get famous, like a la Haley as kids, right? Like when you're a kid, you don't really know what you're signing up for. You're like, oh, acting's fun. Cool. I'm making money. And then all of a sudden, everyone's watched you grow up. So they feel even more invested in you and like they own you
Mhm.
even more.
They have a countdown clock for your 18-year-old birthday.
Yes, a detail that we both included in our books.
Yes, I know.
Clearly scarred both of us. That's a lot.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
gross. So
Those
gross.
yeah. I mean, ugh, one of the things that I loved about this novel was that, like, all those period details, like the countdown clock, felt very like lived in, and the nostalgia felt so full. And so I would love to hear about your research process for this.
Oh my goodness. My research was living through it,
Yes, I do.
Because there's a reason why I don't write books set in like the 70s or the 50s. It's because I don't actually know what it's like to authentically have lived it. But to grow up in the 90s and the early 2000s as a teenage person is to experience all the horrors of what was going on in the media at that time, and observing how people talked about women's bodies, how they were talking about women's diets, which is part of the bodies, I guess. Um, just changes in body shape or face shape,
Yeah.
or changes in face at all. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Just everything.
all those tabloid things that were like they would just circle parts of somebody's body and be like, "Uh-oh, so and so is getting a little flabby here."
Right? Yeah. They're like the cellulite watch.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. And like how terrible for them. And then also how terrible for us to be teen girls at the time and to be like, uh-oh, if I get a little bit of cellulite, I guess I'm worthless as a person.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
remember reading an article with a model, and she was talking about, or the article journalist said that she ordered a bunch of fries and she ate two and then stopped, and that was it. And I've thought about that for 20 years. It's just like, how
Yeah.
messed up is that?
Yeah.
That it really sticks with you.
Yeah. My friend Lucy tweeted at one point about how like every teen magazine at the time was always like, oh, if you're hungry, try a handful of almonds. you know,
Yes,
like that's supposed to
half a banana.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
Haley, in the book, Haley talks about all of her different diets that she tries. So she's like, I tried the watermelon diet. I tried, my friend was on the Atkins diet. And it's pretty triggering. So warning to people who have issues with food. But yeah, those are all things that friends of mine have tried. So
Yeah. And I think you do a really good job of showing how the pressure starts for Haley so young, like age 10 already. People
mhm.
are like making these judgments about her body. And I think that goes back a little bit to what we were talking about earlier with, child stardom. And there's been a bit of an interesting discussion starting to happen more lately, I think, after like Jeanette McCurdy's memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died, about like, is child acting even moral? Like, should it be allowed? Is it just child labor? And we ban child labor in like pretty much all of its other forms. And yet we're like allowing these kids to do this thing that damages a lot of them. um, I mean, did writing about a child star change the way you thought about any of that?
Um, yes, it did. because I was like, this is disturbing. Like I always thought, well, I didn't always think this, but I often thought that being a child star was carrying a very heavy burden of people's expectations. And if you don't live up to those expectations, you're deemed worthless. And so I was not very supportive of the idea of child stars for a while, but this book really makes me not want to watch like children's movies or anything like that, because I wonder if they like behind the scenes are exploited. Like I worked on a children's movie.
You did?
I was an
Oh,
extra.
oh my
I was an
God.
extra in a children's movie. So I was, just walking along a hallway.
Like
But I
as
watched
as a kid?
no,
Oh,
as an
okay.
adult.
Okay.
This
It's
was like a
wait,
couple years
are
ago.
you a child star?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. But I watched how the kids were being treated, and I was like, okay, so they're treating them really well. That's good. But that's on the production side. So I wrote about that in the book, how Hayley is, she is friendly with everyone on the set, but she's not loved by anyone on the set, and so she feels really alone.
Oh, yeah. There's like this heartbreaking thing about, she's in this family sitcom, so she has her like TV mom and dad, and they perform all this love for her, but like at the end of the day, they're just actors.
Yeah, it's just a job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so complicated. It's something that I really had not thought about all that much before. I was just like, oh, I love when precocious kids are in movies. It's so great. And now I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe maybe
maybe
that's not
not
good.
so much.
And at the same time, it's tough because like a lot of people, celebrities who we love today who seem to have adjusted well, like did start out really young, right? And it's like, oh, then would we not have, I don't know, Kirsten Dunst? um,
Yeah, Kiki has done well for herself, but like I'm thinking about like Drew Barrymore, who is part of the basis of this book,
mhm,
where she was partying too hard at like age 11
yeah.
and had to go to rehab when she was a teenager. I mean, she's got her life back on track and she's doing well now, but there was a time when she was not doing well, and
Right.
you can basically attribute that to her child stardom. So,
Yeah. Interesting things to think about. I was listening to
mhm.
a really good podcast actually. I think it's called something about like what's the hill you would die on? And a friend of mine was on it, and she was making the argument that child acting should just be like totally changed. Her name is Lizzie Logan, and her really good argument is that it should be like summer camp. So basically, kids should be like allowed to do it for a few months of the year if they want to, like in the summer when they're in between school years. Um, but it would keep any of them from like being sort of saturated in the culture, and they would still have to like go to school for the majority of the year and be a kid for much of the time. And I was like, oh, I mean, that would really change the industry, but it's an interesting
Well,
thought.
yeah, think about like Hollywood kids and how they grow up, like Lindsay Lohan and
Yeah.
those folks. And then think about like the Harry Potter kids who grew up away from Hollywood. They grew up in the UK, and
Mhm.
they're much more well adjusted, and their parents were very involved in a good way. They weren't stage parents, but they were like rational parents.
And something else I heard actually on the same podcast about the Harry Potter kids is that like part of why things were a little easier for them is because they were filming a movie with a lot of the same people for like 7 years or 8 longer than that. So in some ways it almost was like school, and they like had people that they felt safe with and they got to grow with them, as opposed to a lot of child stars in the LA machine were like moving around from movie to movie and new set to new
Mhm.
set. So,
Right.
but yeah, also maybe in the UK it's just very different.
Maybe I would assume so.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your writing process. Are you like, what does your normal writing schedule look like?
Ooh. I answered this yesterday and people were like, really? That's your schedule?
Oh my God,
Um,
I'm so curious.
I wake up, I eat, I go back to sleep. I like take a little nap.
Yeah, you gotta
um,
digest, you know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I bring my laptop with me and I daydream kind of like in between twilight sleep and like
Huh.
being awake. And that's when all the ideas start flowing. And so
Okay.
usually I like snort myself awake and then start typing. And that's how I write.
Amazing. So all of your ideas just come to you in dreams. I
Yeah,
need to
my
try
brain is really weird, I guess. I don't know.
that. I find it impossible to write in bed.
Oh
So
yeah, where do you write?
jealous of you. Okay, I like wake up, I leave my phone at home, I get a cup of coffee, I walk around outside for 45 minutes to like daydream. I guess this is like my form of lying in bed and daydreaming is like forcing myself to go outside because then I can't look at my phone. And then I come back and try to like get down to the business of writing. Sometimes it works. I have to install like an internet blocker on my computer.
That sounds healthier than my version, so kudos to you.
You know, clearly it's working for you. You wrote this. So, and Cassidy, um, are you a big like reviser? Do you feel like your books change a lot in like the second draft?
Um, well, Hayley did not change that much,
Really?
honestly. Um, Hayley, I outlined pretty well and then just basically went for it and revised pretty lightly.
Yeah.
But Cassidy was just a mess. Like that one, that book, I mean, I wrote it longer. I mean, it took longer to write than Hayley did. And Cassidy was me writing very slowly and then reading it over and going, the second half needs a lot of work. And I deleted the entire second half
Yeah.
and started rewriting it from the middle. And then that took a lot of revision as well. So
It's kind of amazing when you just decide to go for it though, you know, when something's been giving you so much trouble and you're like, screw it, I'm just gonna delete it. I
well,
with
it
the
went off.
daydreams, I feel like
It
I
was going
rewrote
so
it.
well, you know, like
Yeah.
Cassidy was going really well, and then it just went off into like a random direction that just kept going, and I was like, this isn't right. Like she had stage mother.
Ah,
A lot of people died that shouldn't have died, you know.
right.
It was just, it was depressing, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
I'm glad I wrote it.
But sometimes you just have to like get that out there to see that it's not working. I feel like that's the epiphany that I had about writing at a certain point. It was like, oh yeah, first draft is like most of the time going to be bad and you just have to write it and then delete half of it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, well, before we go into, you know, audience Q&A, I thought we could play a little bit of Y2K themed this or that. So, you know, I'll say two things and you tell me which you prefer and why if you want to. And obviously people in the chat should feel free to express their opinions as well. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. This or that. Backstreet Boys or NSYNC?
In sync.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair. I could never decide. But I will say that I feel like I've never loved a song more or danced harder or more often to a song than Everybody Backstreet's
Yes,
Back.
that song is so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, 90 degrees. All right, Elizabeth. Nick Lachey was really cute.
Not
13
my
going
type.
13 going on 30 or Bring It On?
Oh, 13 going on 30. but that one hurt to say because I love Bring It On so much.
I do too. Oh, speaking of things I've read recently, there's an amazing oral history book about
I
brain.
read it.
Yes. Oh, right. We were messaging about it, right? It's great.
But tell the audience about it.
Yes, it's called Bring It On, the oral history of the cheerleading movie that changed like everything. No, seriously. I think that's the title.
Oh, it's so amazing. That movie like almost didn't get made like 8,000 times, and it just took a million hurdles to get through, and then it was a huge success.
Yeah, it was very inspiring. I was like, okay, even if projects don't seem like they're moving forward sometimes, maybe it takes that champion to like really push it over the finish line.
Right, exactly.
Thank God it got made.
Mhm.
So I feel like because of that, I would say Bring It On, but I do love 13 Going on 30 so much. Like Mark Ruffalo in that movie.
Oh, he's such a cutie.
He's such a cutie. All right, I might know your answer to this one because you were talking about it earlier, but low-rise jeans or velour tracksuits?
Oh, velour tracksuit.
Yeah,
I
it's comfortable.
did not like velour tracksuits when they first came out. I was like, those are so tacky. And now that I have one, I just think that they're so comfortable. And I mean, they can also be low rise. So
That's fair. Yeah, if you really want to like constantly live in fear of exposing your butt crack to the world, you can do that with a velour tracksuit as well.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to choose. Okay, MySpace or LiveJournal?
Live journal.
Were you a like big putting your feelings out there on
Oh yeah.
LiveJournal girl?
I was embarrassing. I wrote so many live journal entries. I still have my live journal, although I don't use it.
Oh,
But I can go back and look at 2003 if I want to and embarrass myself. So
nice. I believe we put that stuff on the internet.
I know. It's all friends locked now, so like no one can see it. But yeah,
Smart.
I was never on MySpace really. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
I loved MySpace. I think I was a little too self-conscious for LiveJournal to like, I don't know. I didn't like to talk about my feelings.
Oh, I love dissecting my feelings. I was like, this is how I felt today, and this is why I feel the way that I feel about my feelings.
Yeah. All right. Oops, I did it again, or Hit Me Baby One More Time.
Oops, I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just by the music video alone is iconic, right?
That
It has the Titanic and everything.
Yeah. He went down into the ocean to get it for her.
Exactly.
All right. Last one. And this one has actually 3 parts because I couldn't narrow it down. And I was on the Wikipedia page earlier today looking at all the winners of the MTV Movie Awards Best Kiss category. And I think there are 3 that really stuck out to me above all others. So Upside Down Spider-Man kiss. Oh, no?
No, doesn't do it for me.
Okay. I mean, his chin is like very prominent in it.
I just feel like he's getting water up his nose, right?
Yeah.
If they're in the rain.
I did see a headline when I was Googling this that was like, Tobey Maguire almost suffocated during the upside down kiss. Okay, Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams in The Notebook. Okay. Or Sarah Michelle Gellar and Selma Blair in Cruel Intentions.
Ooh, Rachel and Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also because like they didn't just leave it at the movie kiss in the rain. They reenacted it when they won the award.
And I know, that's the best part.
Yeah. If anybody is watching and wants to do something after this, I recommend Googling that. And then you'll be sad that they broke up. Yeah.
Aww, don't remind me.
Well, that is what I've got for you if we want to head over to audience Q&A. Are you feeling ready for that?
Awesome.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really.
All right. Let's see. Let's go look back at this chat. So we've got the two of us write women's fiction. What does women's fiction mean to you?
I hate the term women's fiction, to be honest, because it means that it's like women's protagonists, which means that men won't read it, I guess. I don't know. So it just means like strong female characters to me.
Yeah, I like to think that anyone could read my books and be interested in them, not just women. But yeah, I suppose like it takes women and their emotions and their relationships seriously. And I feel like I've never actually written a book that passes a reverse Bechdel test. With like two men talking to each other about something besides a woman, except for maybe the Daydreams. There might be, yeah, the Daydreams has like a little bit of that.
Okay,
so I'm like
that's good.
growing and evolving and writing complex male characters now, but all right, we've got, did we both find our second books easier or more difficult to write?
Ooh, Hayley was easier for me.
Yeah.
I outlined instead of just pantsing. Outlining is very helpful.
Makes such a difference. Yes.
It does. It was also under deadline for me, so I was very motivated to finish it instead of Cassidy, which was writing when I had snatches of time, so
yeah.
And going like sometimes months without actually writing anything, just letting it fester.
Yeah. So you had a deal before you finished Hayley Aldridge?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It does make such a difference to know that like you're gonna get paid for this thing.
Right?
Yeah. Not just like you might pour your heart and soul into it and then send it out and nobody will be interested in it whatsoever in publishing it.
Right. I mean, I've had my share of that too, but like
same. Yeah. I find it a little hard to answer this question because I'm like, people think of Special Place for Women as my second novel, but actually it's like the fourth novel I ever wrote. And the first one had like a very small printing. The second one did not get picked up anywhere. And then the third, which I think a lot of people think of as my first, is Happy and You Know It. But I think so many writers have like at least one book hidden away in a drawer somewhere that's never seen the light of day. But are you able to tell us about your current projects?
Ooh, I'm allowed to say a few things, but only a few.
Okay.
One is that I'm under contract for a book.
Yeah, you are.
That I turned in, but I cannot talk about it because it has not been announced.
Okay. But can you DM me later and tell me? Because we're friends.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lainey, take off your glasses.
It's time. Okay, well that's very exciting. So is it you just turned in the first draft or?
Yeah, I just turned in the first draft.
Yeah.
So it still needs a lot of work. And I will give you a hint about it. Dunkin'
like Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes.
Oh my God. I have a theory, but I'll tell you later.
Okay. I will let everyone ruminate upon that. Just, what could it be?
Yeah. In terms of my current project, I have a book coming out in May called The Daydreams that I'm very excited about, and that also like plays upon some of this nostalgia factor stuff that we've been talking about. And it's about the stars of an early 2000s TV show a la High School Musical that you know, they like imploded on live TV at the height of their fame, and nobody really knows why. And now they're coming back for a reunion, and there's lots of like secrets and dramas and betrayals and unfinished business. So that one was very fun, and I'm excited about it.
And it's really good, y'all. You should pre-order it.
Thank you. Did I ever tell you that you played an important role in my origin story for that book?
Did you? Tell me, I mean.
I don't think I did, but I originally pitched it to my agent as like, oh, members of a Spice Girls-esque group come back together for a reunion tour. And we talked about it, like brainstormed all about it. And I was about to dive into writing it. And then I saw the announcement about Cassidy Holmes. I saw that Cassidy was coming out in like a month. And I was like, damn it. But
I scooped you.
You scooped me. Yeah. I think it ended up being better for me this way. Like one of the major themes of the Daydreams is about, you know, like the way that male stars were treated versus female stars back in the early 2000s. And I wouldn't have thought to explore that if not for you. So thank you.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. All right. We've got another question. There's a big nostalgia factor in your books. Were there any fashion trends or hairstyles or technology or social trends that you were excited to remember? And are there any that you want to come back?
Ooh. I loved flip phones. It was so satisfying to smack it closed, you know, you're just like snack. Or you'd smack it closed on your chin, be like this.
Mm-hmm. It was so cool.
And I really like those choker necklaces that look like little lines.
Yeah, like the black ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are coming back too. That makes me happy. I don't know if flip phones are because I hated T9 texting.
Well, I've heard actually that flip phones are coming back in a limited way for like a lot of parents who don't want their teenagers or preteens to have iPhones, but want them to have some sort of phone so that they can call them in an emergency. I think that is like the big market for flip phones these days, actually.
I wonder if the Razor will come back.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I loved my Razor until the battery died. And then I was like, well, this is trash.
Throw it out.
Yeah.
Last question I see as of now. What was it like to publish a book during a publisher strike? Which also they just announced that they're ending the strike, right?
They just
agreement, which is
they came to an agreement, and the union voted to ratify the contract, so they're going to return to work. They said on the 21st, which is great. But how was it publishing a book during a strike? Not super fun. So I want to say that I support the union, obviously. And I'm so glad that they are prevailing. Hooray! Workers' rights.
Yeah.
But the thing that they asked people to do, which was to not give any buzz to HarperCollins titles, and I'm a HarperCollins author, was a little disheartening. I understand why they asked, but it made me feel like my book was flopping, even though maybe it's going to do okay. I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard. And you don't want to like go against the union, but you also
you don't want to scab
yourself. Yeah. But now that now that's being ratified, everyone should go forth and spread the word of Hayley Aldridge.
Yes, hopefully.
Yes. Jessica asked, and thank you, Jessica Casserly. Was there a scene or section that was the most fun to write?
Ooh. Yes. Okay, but I can't go into it because it's a little bit spoilery.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where Hayley goes off on somebody. She just like yells at them and is like throwing a tantrum about it. And it was super fun to write that part.
So sad.
I channeled my sister for that part because my sister is really good at cursing.
Nice.
So I was just like, what would my sister say?
Did you have her read it to like give the authenticity stamp?
I know. She's read the book. She didn't mention it at all, so maybe it didn't strike her as herself. But
Yeah.
Hayley is her own person anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah.
It is funny. I feel like people either tend to not recognize themselves in fiction or see themselves when they're not actually there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, unless there are any more questions, I think that's it.
All right. I have a question I like to ask at the end of events. Before I do want to remind our audience members and people watching this later on YouTube that copies of Hayley Aldridge is still here, is available from Gibson's Bookstore, and pre-orders for The Daydreams is also open. That comes out May 2nd. Congratulations again to Elissa on launch week. This week. It's your second one. It's almost over. You can get some sleep. The question that I like to ask at the end of events is, what have your characters taught you, if anything, or made you discover about yourself? Did you learn anything from your characters this time around?
I learned I should not take drugs.
Powerful lesson.
I was already not gonna take drugs, but when I was researching stuff about this, I was like, drugs are really not for me.
Don't do drugs, kids. Actually, there was a question that I didn't ask because I couldn't figure out how to phrase it, but I was thinking about how all of these teen celebrities who were up and coming in the 90s and the early aughts, before smartphones, before everybody had a camera in their pocket, while they were like losing control or behaving poorly or anything, there were not cameras around to, like while the paparazzi were in their faces all the time, there were not cameras in everybody's pockets. So there was a degree of anonymity that they had if they were in like a trusted space. Or I think that a famous photographer, just released a book of photographs of like very famous people from the 2000s, the early 2000s, before the smartphone came out. And it's all of these celebrities like partying really hard, but because there weren't cameras in everybody's pockets, they could party, they could hang out. They looked like the Hollywood version of regular teenagers. But at the same time, you're looking at them and like, you have been taking drugs. Like you could just tell from their face, and it's just like they were so young. And so don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. Stay in school. Write your books. Don't do Okay, so valuable life lesson here. I think that's about it for our event. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us as we launch Elissa's event. Elissa, thank you for joining us virtually for your second book. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right, to our audience members, that's it for us this evening. Have a great night, everybody.